as we just affirmed, really, consciousness is everything. If you think in simple way, whatever it is in your mind, that's how you're going to react in life, is it not? If you're at home, if you're on the street, if you're somewhere outside in life, and you have the perception that the people, places, and things around you are out to take advantage of you, versus the people, places, and things around you are out to do something good for you, are you going to behave the same way in both situations? No. But the two physical situations could look identical. You walk into a business meeting. If your thought is, they're here to take advantage over you, you're going to look and respond one way. If you think, even though you don't know the people, that they're there to help you or help your business, you're going to respond differently. So as we affirm every Sunday, consciousness is everything. And the power of Kabbalah, and what we're teaching here in the center, is to help us have a greater consciousness, to raise our consciousness. Now, for some of you who have a spiritual background, raise your consciousness could sound like, I don't know, seeing angels, maybe having some kind of spiritual experience like that. But even the most simple way, something I learned when I started in the center almost 30 years ago from my teacher, Rav Berg. Any of you drive the same way to work every day for 2, 3, 4 years? Right, some of you? Did it ever happen to you that you got in your car and 1 microsecond later you arrived at work and you don't know how you got there? So like my teacher Rav Berg would say, so how did you get there? Who drove the car? So this is the understanding. We can be in a place, we can be somewhere, you can be right in front of a person, and in your thoughts, in your mind, you could be across the earth. And then there are sometimes you can be across the earth physically, but you could be right next to that person. So it's not always about the physicality of things, it's about the consciousness. And that's why the most valuable thing and the one foundational thing that we do teach here, consciousness is everything. And how to keep improving or raising your conscious awareness. Not only about yourself, but what about life in general? So I personally have a science background, and that's how I came to the center almost 30 years ago. So when I came to the center, everything for me was in scientific terms. So recently they've come out with this idea, the theory of everything. Right? They had the movie, The Theory of Everything, based on some scientific concepts years and years ago. What I'd like to share with you is that Kabbalah is not the theory of everything. It is the technology, and if you will, the law of everything. The Kabbalists teach, and we believe here in the center, that the Kabbalistic wisdom out of the Zohar, which is the main writings, literally is the blueprint of the universe. So if you go back to science, in fact, the Nobel Prizes were just awarded recently. So if you think a Nobel Prize in science, what is it given for? What did they do that they're now getting a Nobel Prize? They discover something new. Let me ask you, that thing that was discovered, whether it was in 2015 or it was in 1950 or it was whenever, the thing that they discovered, was it not there already? The thing was there already. Our awareness of it wasn't there. But the thing was. So as it says in, I believe it's Proverbs, nothing new under the sun. Because everything in this world already exists. One of my favorite examples to share when I start teaching Kabbalah 1, cell phone. Somebody have a cell phone? Anybody in the room have a cell phone? I know they're rare. Okay, so you have a cell phone. Do you remember your first cell phone? Maybe in the 80s? Okay. So now let's say, and if you remember way back, they didn't have cell phones, but they were called car phones. And who had them? Frank Sinatra. I mean, like the celebrities had a car phone. So even let's go back to the 50s. Let's say 1950, they came out with the first thing. So are you going to tell me that the laws of science and all the root material that made that car phone in the 1950s didn't exist with a big bang 16 billion years ago? What did science do that made that car phone? They just put together the pieces that were already in existence. And even the way they put them together was not of their creation. It was already the system that was set up. So there's nothing we have called physical technology that doesn't already exist. What the scientists have come to do is just understand how it works and put it together. So if you extrapolate out, as scientists will tend to do, if you extrapolate over maybe 100 years, 1,000 years in the future, ideally or theoretically, what will the scientists know? How the entire universe works. I know, wishful thinking, right? 1,000 years, I see, okay. But let's say they could. What are they looking for? What will they find at that moment then? What you and I would call the blueprint of the universe. Is that not right? Because they're not creating anything new, they're just uncovering what already exists. So that blueprint is what the Kabbalists call the Zohar. That's it. That's Kabbalah. It is that. Now, I'll give you some facts about that in a minute here, but I wanted us to understand some aspects of it. The first thing, therefore, like science, it means it's universal. Works for everybody. Doesn't matter who you are, what language you speak, what your background is, Kabbalah will work for everybody. Just like the laws of gravity. Why? How does gravity work on us? Because we have a physical body. If you didn't have a physical body, gravity wouldn't work on you, would it? So gravity works because we have a physical body. Kabbalah works because there's not a human being on earth who doesn't have a soul, a spirit. It's what keeps us alive, what it allows us to live. So then when we say Kabbalah is spirituality, it doesn't mean just how to see the angels, I don't know, how to talk to God, different things like that. What it really means is the technology of making use of the soul that's already inside of us. The soul, Kabbalistically, is the carrier of what we call the endless light of the Creator. The endless light. Why light? Why not just call it God? Because the Kabbalists would teach, here, we're in a diverse room here in this, or diverse group here in this room. If I asked you what God meant to you, you think we come up with the same idea? We'd all describe it differently, wouldn't we? But if I ask you what is the light, what happens when you walk in a dark space and you turn on a light? Any of you going to come up with a different answer than anybody else? We all going to come up with the same answer? Some of you are not sure, you're trying to figure the answer. What happens? It's not a trick question. You walk in a dark room and you turn on a birthday candle, a flashlight, your cell phone, or these lights. What happens to the darkness? Goes away, and what takes its place? Illumination, light. That's universal. We all grasp that. So the Kabbalists teach what we carry in our soul, what we carry in our spirit is that endless light of the Creator. And the beauty is, where do you go that you don't take your soul? No place. Everywhere you go. So then think what you're carrying inside you everywhere you go. The endless light of the Creator. The endless light of the universe. So how many of you have a little difficulty somewhere in your life? A little difficulty. Right? So what is that difficulty? Why is it so difficult? Because we can't see. If you knew the answer to whatever your question was at work, at home, somewhere in your life, if you already knew the answer, would it be difficult then? No, you'd know exactly what to do, when to do, and how to do it. So it's the darkness that doesn't allow us to see. Wow, isn't it amazing? It's set up that everywhere we go, we take this tremendous power of light with us. So all we have to do is express, shine that light out, and the darkness will disappear. And what takes its place? Clarity, understanding, awareness, and things like health, peace, love, prosperity, all those things. Those are all contained in the endless light of the Creator. All the blessings of life, all the goodness. And that's why, yes, we are already all spiritual. The issue is not, are we spiritual or not spiritual? The issue is, like with the light, if you walk in this room, if we blocked out the windows, we're in the middle of the night, so it's pitch black in here. And we walk in with a birthday candle lit. Are you going to see clearly like you see now? But is that birthday candle shining light? Yes or yes? Yes. The old people going, he's used that on us before. Okay. Right? Yes or yes? Now, if you walk in and you've got whatever they call it, 1,000 candle flashlight, is it going to shine brighter or less than the birthday candle? Brighter. But is the light still the light? So it's the same light. So it's not a question of are people spiritual or not. The question is, how much are they expressing their spirit or not? How bright is their light shining or not? So the Kabbalists, and the point of the center is to teach every human being on earth the ways and means to express the light of their soul, to shine it out. Not to be spiritual, because we already are. How to be more spiritual. So everybody is at a certain level already. But let me ask you, everybody in this room is alive and breathing, are we not? I'm looking to see who's looking around. See, well, I don't know about the guy behind me, but right? We're all breathing, we're all alive. But how many of you are completely blissed out? How many of you have everything you could ever imagine having? Experiencing all the joy and pleasure and fulfillment that you could ever imagine? Pretty much. Okay, pretty much is still not 100%. Whew, okay. Right? No, it's okay. So therefore, what's missing? It's not a question of are we missing something? And this is probably one of the fundamental differences between Kabbalah and many other teachings out there. If a person feels they're missing something, it's not about getting from the outside. How many of you have a mirror at home? How many of you don't? Okay. The rest of you just Libra. Should I raise my hand? I shouldn't raise my hand. Maybe yes, maybe. So when you're brushing your teeth, combing your hair, putting on your makeup, and you're looking in the mirror, and you look in the mirror and you see your hair's messed up, right? The image in the mirror is messed up, okay? How come we don't do in the mirror like we do in our life? You take your brush, you take your comb, and you start combing the mirror. Fix the image in the mirror. Any of you do that? Okay, good. Right? If you saw people trying to do that, what would you say? They're a little crazy, they're a little foolish, a screw missing somewhere. But when people go to work, and work isn't going as well as they would like, what's our first response? Let's fix everybody else. We'll fix the coworker, the boss, the employees, the clients, the customers, everyone outside of ourselves. That in a Kabbalistic manner is exactly the same as trying to brush the mirror to change what you see. Because as we now understand already, everyone carries the endless light of the Creator inside of them. So then it's not a question of why is there darkness in their life? Why are things not so clear? So we change the outside. Once you project the light from your soul out into the business, out into your relationship, out towards your health, once you're shining the light out, then the darkness disappears. Things get better. And that is the purpose of the center. If you looked at some of the material we have, improve people's lives. Improve people's lives. That's it. Because it is universal. It will work for everybody. In fact, look around the room. When we finish this, before the next one or after the next lecture, talk to some of the people who've been around here, the Jews, the Muslims, the Buddhists, the Hindus, and the Christians, and ask them what Kabbalah has done for them in their understanding of their own religion. I know it worked for me. It helped me understand a lot of things that I grew up with, not only science, but the religion I grew up in and all the other religions and spiritualities I'd studied until I found the center. It made it clear. Because just like a blueprint, and I did once, I worked for a summer in construction. So, of course, the construction manager, the site manager, had a blueprint, right? We were putting reinforcement steel, setting up for concrete pouring to build a parking structure. So we spent about 3 days setting up these rebars, as we called them, according to the blueprint. Just before they brought in the concrete, the site manager realized he had been reading the blueprint upside down. So we had to take everything apart and go another 3 days to put it back in the right way. The blueprint is the blueprint. If we look at it wrong, then we're also perhaps going to make mistakes. So every part of life has a blueprint, is part of this blueprint. Whether it is Christianity, Judaism, Buddhism, Hinduism, whether it's chemistry, math, physics, quantum physics, etc., it's all part of the blueprint we call Kabbalah, the Zohar. That's what makes it universal. We have a universal technology. We have a soul that's universal to everybody. Everybody. Now, just like on that construction site, though, we were there setting up the reinforcement steel, and then you had the guy came in with the concrete, and then you had guys coming in with the framing, and then you had guys coming in with the electricity and the air conditioning and everything else. They were all working off of one set of blueprints, but we were not all the same. We did the setting up the reinforcement steel, the guys did the concrete and smoothing it out. You had other people who were electricians, you had other people who were plumbers, you had other people who were air conditioners, you had other people drywall. You following the idea? We were all different trades, but we were working from one set of blueprints. That's what the Kabbalists teach about the world. Yes, we're all different people. We're not here to learn Kabbalah to be all the same, the opposite. We're here to learn Kabbalah to express our uniqueness, our unique talents and abilities, that which was given to us when we left what's called the endless world, and we came here. We each took a piece of that endless light of the Creator, and we're here to manifest it all, and in unity and harmony. That's the point. But when we come into this world, we demanded from the Creator free will. How many of you would like to have your free will taken away? How many of you ever felt you've had your free will taken away? One way or another, right? People forced you, urged you, whatever it was. It's not very pleasant, is it? So when we left the endless world, we also asked for free will. But free will necessitates a choice. You have to be able to choose between two things or there's no free will. Right? Simple concept, but we have to think about it. Therefore, when I say I want my free will, don't tell me what I have to do or not have to do. So one of the first things you'll hear if you decide to take a class, I heard when I came almost 30 years ago, don't believe a word we say. Don't believe a word. But don't disbelieve it either. Learn and then prove it to yourself by applying it. So you don't have to believe anything we say, but at least learn and apply it and you'll see how it goes. So that idea of free will then means, if you're getting the concept here, what do we have inside our soul? Light. Light. How much light? 100%. So free will means we have the ability to shine some part of that light, all of that light, or none of that light. So then our destiny, our lives are not based on what everybody else does. Our destiny is based on what we do. Shine more light of your soul, brighter destiny. Don't shine light of your soul, not so good a destiny. A little more challenges along the way because things become unclear. Is everyone following? So therefore, as much as we may not like it when you first learn this, there's nobody out there who can stop you. You can only stop yourself. So we're here learning how not to stop ourselves and how not to fall into that perception that there's someone or something can stop us. Because remember, everywhere we go, we take the light. We take the light with us. So we've allowed ourselves to believe that somebody can stop us from shining our light. You ever got annoyed at somebody? Once or twice? So when you're annoyed, is your first thought, how can I help them? What can I do to care for them? How do I share with them? What's your first thought? How can I wring their neck? Right? I'm annoyed at them. So what did I do to my light if I'm wringing their neck? I may be enjoying myself. Don't want to say that, but I only enjoy myself while I'm wringing their neck. The moment I stop, then what? Now I feel guilty. Why did I do that? But meanwhile, I'm not shining more light because I believed in that moment they could stop me. But once we're objective, which is what consciousness means, to be aware, then I have to also be aware, no, it was my free will to want to wring their neck and do whatever I did. Or, now that we're learning Kabbalah, it's my free will not to. And I could just shine light. But some of you are saying, yeah, but if I shine light, then they're going to keep doing their thing. Go back to light and darkness. As long as we leave the lights on in this room, can darkness come in? No. One of my favorite things, I'm still waiting for someone to come up with one, but there's no such thing. You walk into a dark room, turn on a flashlight, what happens? The light removes the darkness, correct? Anyone ever walked into a dark room with a mysterious machine called a flash dark and make darkness appear out of light? No such thing. No such thing. Light will always remove darkness. It's a universal, eternal law. And therefore, the light of our soul will always remove darkness. The issue is, we've allowed ourselves to believe that we don't have the power. If you talk to the people who've been around Sundays for a while, that's one of my most important lessons that I constantly repeat to you, to understand how much power we truly have to dispel the darkness. And that's why we affirm, consciousness is everything. And I awaken myself to realize the miracles and wonders of life, how much power I do have, so that then that old thought of mine won't hold me back that says, no, they can annoy me and they can stop me from shining my light. Nobody stops me. And as of today, I am going to shine more and more light unconditionally, no matter what. And that light will find a way to stop the negativity from coming my way. It'll dissipate that negativity. It may not all disappear at once. I don't want to make you think like it's a one-shot deal, because it wasn't one shot to make the darkness, was it? How many times you've been annoyed at somebody? 1, 2, 3, 100, 400, right? So that's the idea. It will dissipate darkness. And so the more we let our light shine, because we understand how much power we do have, then the more the darkness will dissipate. And the more the goodness and the blessings that we feel in our heart and soul we're supposed to have will show up. But now we've come upon one of the teachings that I wanted to make sure I shared. Anyone here have a bad habit? Okay, so one young lady over there is admitting she has a bad habit. The rest of it kind of, okay, so you have a bad habit. When you're under a little tension, a little stress, there's a difficult situation, what voice do you hear in your brain relative to your bad habit? Do it. Don't you hear that voice? Do your bad habit, do your bad habit, do your bad habit, do your bad habit. Loud and clear. But on the other side of your brain, you have another voice. Usually don't hear it, but we know it's there. And what's that voice telling us? Don't do the bad habit. Don't do the bad habit. Do a good habit. Do something different, right? So then, are we battling the person or the situation outside of us really? Or is the real battle in the two sides of our brain, those two voices in our head? Once the voice of the good habit beats the voice of the bad habit, how will you act? Will you behave good habit, bad habit? Good habit. If the bad habit voice wins, which unfortunately probably did most of the time up to now, then we'll behave with a bad habit. So again, consciousness is everything. It's not about what's happening outside of us. It's what's happening inside of us. Inside our brain, the two voices. Inside our soul, the light. The two voices in our head will determine whether we let the light out or not. Whether we let the light out or not determines what our destiny is. Brighter light, brighter destiny. Opposite is also true. So then, what are we doing here in the Kabbalah Center? We're teaching every human being possible this wisdom. Because the more people are learning this, the more we can unite people all around the world in this technology, which works everywhere, then what's going to happen? Just like that construction site. Once you're all operating on the same blueprint with that same perspective, we all come from different parts of the world and different backgrounds and different talents and abilities. But we can then draw out the talents and abilities to be expressed. And that's what we're learning here. I want to give you a few facts, scientific facts. Because, you know, it's nice. A lot of people talk about spirituality, a lot of people telling you different things about spirituality. And again, once you learn a little bit more of Kabbalah as we teach it here, you'll start to see in a greater detail how all those things out there that sometimes may look like they contradict, how they fit together. But I just want to at least give you a little validation to what we're doing here. So there was a very famous Kabbalist, I believe he lived in the 1600s, whose name was Isaac Newton. Heard of Isaac Newton? Right. Some of you going, is he referring to the physicist? Yes, that's the Isaac Newton. but he was actually a better Kabbalist than he was a physicist. And according to his own writings, his scientific ideas came from the Zohar, which if you want to take a trip, you can go to London, you can go to Trinity College, and you can see his copy of the Zohar. And just to show you a little bit of the universality of this, his Zohar was not in its original language of Aramaic, his Zohar was in Latin. So some people have tended to say, well, if it was Aramaic, it must have come from a Jewish source. But you know who translated this Aramaic book into Latin? One of the popes. The Pope translated the Zohar into Latin, knowing that it could unite Jews, Christians, Muslims. That was the point. But my point this morning is not just that. Isaac Newton got his scientific understanding, gravity, the 7 colors of the rainbow uniting in white light, right? The law of attraction and repulsion. They're all written in the Zohar. Now ask the question, when was the Zohar put in writing? Thank you. Okay, at least somebody's listening now, I know, okay. When was the Zohar put in writing? 2,000 years ago. When was it first taught orally? About 3,000 or 4,000 years before that. So 2,000 years ago, the Zohar was writing about white light being the combination of the 7 colors. It was writing about the laws of attraction and repulsion. It was writing about gravity. It was in fact writing about the 10 dimensions that the scientists now call the grand unified theory. And on top of that, quantum physicists come along and they say, no, no, no. There's a concept now that it's not 10 dimensions, there's actually 11. So go back to your Zohar and guess what the Zohar says? There are 11, but one of them is kind of comes and goes. And that's why the 11th dimension kind of comes and goes. They have evidence, but they don't always see it, but it looks like it's there, and combining everything, et cetera, et cetera. My favorite one, because that's my background, was medicine. So anyone ever heard of something called cholesterol? Cholesterol. Anyone old enough to remember that back in the 70s, the scientists or the medical people made the devil of eggs? Not deviled eggs. They made the devil of eggs. Don't eat eggs. It's got cholesterol, and too many eggs could kill you. 2,000 years before that, the Zohar was not only explaining that cholesterol comes from the bile of the liver, but it also explained there's good and bad cholesterol. 2,000 years ago, according to the scientists, what was the shape of the earth? Flat. According to the Zohar, what was the shape of the earth? Round. Not only round, but 2,000 years ago they said it was round and it rolled in space with people living above and below. So as the Kabbalists wrote in the, as Newton wrote, I believe it was, that the cartographers believed there were only a few continents. The Zohar already talked about the 7 continents and people living in them. So again, I'm not telling you that you have to believe, but at least I want to give you a little bit of understanding that there is scientific basis to what we're doing. And that's why we don't call Kabbalah just spirituality. It's spiritual technology for the soul. Because technology like your cell phone works for everybody. There's no limit, there's no one that it's not functional for. It's only a question of applying it. And that's the beauty of what the center is. What's a center? And Karen Berg, the wife of Rav Berg, she once said the Kabbalah Center is like a smorgasbord. You know what a smorgasbord is? A buffet, all-you-can-eat buffet, right? So you go out there and they don't have just one food, do they? They got all kinds of things on that buffet. So when you go to the buffet, does the manager of the buffet or the smorgasbord follow you along and say, no, 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 you have to take that, you have to take this, you have to take this, you have to take this, you have to take this? Yes or no? No, they give you free will. You can eat whatever you want. You look at it, you like it, great. So that's why Karen was saying the Kabbalah Center is also a spiritual smorgasbord. We will teach everything. We will give you the understanding of everything that we know, because just like that blueprint, the blueprint is the greatest detail of everything in it. So everything you'd ever want to know is there. That's why I said to you, it's the law of everything, not the theory of everything. But again, you have to prove it to yourself. I've proved it to myself. The students here have proved it to themselves. But you don't have to take everything. So I just want to throw out there this idea, because we just spoke about it yesterday and the day before. Noah's Ark. So again, I'm not telling you have to believe the story or whatever, but at least understand it spiritually. Here was a flood of chaos, a flood of negativity about to happen. Noah welcomed people who wanted to come on the ark. Unfortunately, people didn't want. They didn't believe. So who came on the ark? Noah and the animals. I hope I don't get myself in trouble with this here. But if you look at animals, those of you who love animals, they have a certain instinct. You love them, they love you. If somebody has like anger or animosity towards an animal, they will reflect that, right? So what the Kabbalists teach us, in essence, when it says the animals came on, it doesn't mean just animals. Because what I'd like you to understand, the purpose of the Kabbalah Center is to teach people to have dominion over the physical world. That doesn't mean greedy, selfish manipulation. It means not to be drawn down by the physical things that we find ourselves in, the negative situations we encounter ourselves in. The point is, as we come into those difficult situations, we need to have dominion over them by realizing what? I'm in a one-on-one between me and the universe. It's not between me and them. Therefore, my destiny is in my hands. As I will shine more light will be reflected back. Maybe not exactly from that person, but somewhere it will happen. So when a person understands that it's one-on-one and it's not about everybody else, then we are like, in a simple way, those animals that just followed the command of the Creator. Go into the ark. So when we are letting our light shine, like we affirm, are we going to behave with anger and hatred or love and compassion? Love and compassion. And therefore we can just follow that spiritual, godlike instinct of behaving kind, compassionate, loving, etc. to everyone unconditionally, knowing with certainty it's going to come back to me one way or another. And so the power and the purpose of the Kabbalah Center is to heal the planet, to remind us what we already know, to heal us, which means to take us back to our original state, which is pure and perfect beings of light. That's who we really are. Anything that you look in the mirror and you don't see that is not the real you. That's the clothing that you've taken upon yourself by misbelieving what the world's trying to tell us out there. That people are out to get you, that it's not always good, things falling apart, there's chaos and negativity. No, that's not true. There is that aspect, but there's also the eternal, endless perfection that's waiting for us to uncover. And that's what the center is about. Heal the planet and bring it back to its original state. The Garden of Eden, whatever you envision that to be, but bliss, happiness, joy, world peace, brotherly love, all those terms that we all use, where is it? It already exists. It's already here on earth. It's already inside of us. It's just waiting for us to uncover it. And that's all we're learning here. How to uncover more and more of that light of my soul, that source of perfection and fulfillment, and let it be manifest in my life. Just like all our talents and ability. Whatever you do now in life has come from what came with you when you were born. The issue was drawing it out, expressing it. It wasn't about getting more talent and ability. It was making use of it. So the power of the Kabbalah Center is really just like the Ark of Noah. Put everybody on the ark, protection from all the chaos of the world. Because sadly, there is a lot of chaos out there now. But we have the answer. And that's why the Kabbalah Center is becoming more and more popular. Because people are starting to hear stories. How Kabbalists changed their friends' life, how people are coming along to it, how spirituality. That's how I came. I came through other spirituality when they started to say, you know what? Kabbalah is the source of all spiritual wisdom. And then I was dropped in the Kabbalah Center. You've been dropped into the Kabbalah Center. The ability of using everything you've ever learned, everything you've ever experienced, for not only your highest good, but the highest good of everybody around you. That's really what we want to do. Bring the planet back to heaven on earth, Garden of Eden. But it's up to each and every one of us. So what we're